American football in Finland.
The voice in your ears is Perfect Pervis, and this is American Football in Finland. Today, I'm joined by my co-host, Coach Q. What's going on, Q?
What up? What up? We back.
Once again, the AFF podcast is available on all podcast platforms. Instead of saying all of them, it's on all of them. And we're also on YouTube. So wherever you listen or watch this podcast, you can find us. Make sure to click and subscribe, become a follower. We need as many of those as we can. I think we have a little bit over 1,000 followers on Podbean, but our YouTube channel only has like 90 something subscribers or something. So, just hit subscribe. And you get that YouTube link in case you don't want to just listen. You want to see the visual of us talking. That's all it is. It's like a picture and then us talking. Make sure that you do rate us 5 stars. Anything less will tell us that you are a hater. So let's get into it. All right, it's first down. Normally, this is where, we start fresh and discuss what's on our minds. But today we got a topic. I really wish Chris had made it for this topic, but that's okay. We're going to talk about it anyways. And the topic is him, Lee Anthony REASNOVER, controversy. Now, I'm going to put this out here before we get into it that normally on this podcast, we stay out of like politics and, rumors, he say, she say type of stuff, what we hear, what people tell us. Like we really stay out of that type of stuff. And we just speak on what our thoughts and opinions are. But this is one of those situations we can't just pass up. Okay. So anyone who is not aware, almost a month ago, there was an incident after the Steelers played the Crocodiles for the first time where Lee Anthony REASNOVER threw a punch at one of the players on the Crocodiles team. And consequently, he was suspended by the league for 4 games. But then there were press releases saying that him and the Scorpio Steelers had terminated the contract. So he was no longer going to be on the team. And we have not seen him, in the vicinity or anything about the Steelers in the last month. And right before this past game where they were about to play, were they playing the Crocodiles again? Yeah, that's probably what it was. Right before they were about to play the Crocodiles, there's a press release saying that he has rejoined the Steelers, and he wasn't going to be playing in that game. So just drawing conclusions, obviously he hasn't played in 4 games for the Steelers, but also it seems like he might not have actually left the team. So yeah, just those are just the facts that we know for sure. We know that he's still on the team. He technically didn't play in 4 games. We don't know if like his contract actually was voided. Like these are all things that only the team, Lee Anthony, and maybe the SAJL can answer. We can't answer that here. But the whole thing just comes off as shady.
Wow.
That's my opinion. Man. But you go ahead and tell me what you think about this whole like whatever conspiracy this is that we have going on, Q.
Yeah, I'm still a little lost on it. I've literally been around Finland football for a long time now, and I've never seen anything like this happen before. The last person that I remember that got suspended for 4 games was Jock Crawford. And he actually played for the Seinäjoki Crocodiles at the time. And I just didn't ever expect this. It felt like Seinäjoki was trying to make a statement. Not Seinäjoki. They said the league was trying to make a statement saying that they weren't going to put up with this type of behavior or whatever. So the league, I'm not sure if the league made the decision to suspend him for 4 games or it was Seinäjoki who made the decision to suspend him for 4 games. But I feel like it was the league. But in that case, this is totally out of the blue for him to be, I don't want to say re-signing, because now it seems like he never terminated the contract. Because I'm just asking, how can you be suspended for 4 games if you're not part of a team? If you're not on the active roster, how can you be considered suspended for 4 games? If a team releases you, that means when you come back, you have to miss 4 games, in my opinion. But I'm not sure if Rope and in the SAJ, they actually go by that, because technically anybody can do that. If you get suspended for 5 games, all right, well, I'm just not going to play for the first 5 games of them assigned to your team. But is that really serving a suspicion if they said that they released him out of his contract? So this if it was cool with them, all right, like let it go. But I think it just shows weird mess to the rest of the league saying like, all right, you can technically serve a suspension. You unless there was some stuff going on behind closed doors that nobody know about, but this was kind of weird. I kind of figured that because Scorpio didn't sign anybody else.
Yeah.
They didn't sign another running back. That was kind of, and it just made it sound, man, I know they ain't going with this team for the rest of the season. So it was kind of surprising that they didn't sign anybody else. But now it makes sense because they were probably expecting him to come back after 4 games, which means in terms that Anthony Reasonable is the best thing that ever happened to Scorpio. If they were willing to do this, wait 4 games and to bring him back, that means that they have a lot of respect for him, and he has a lot of respect for that team. But the whole releasing part, we shouldn't even have to go through that. Then you should have just said, "All right, he's spending 4 games, and we'll see him in 4 games." But to say that you released him and all this, and then you're like, "Oh, we rehired him and re-signed," like it's just a lot right there. Especially when your
Yes.
team,
Something going
especially
on.
when the team is sitting, yeah, something going on. So I'm not a hater. Welcome back. Welcome back. I think this changes a lot for the rest of the season. I think this right here, him coming back, changes a lot. We know what he can do. He's rested, which is going to be crucial for the teams that he have to play coming up. But yeah, it's still just an awkward, crazy situation. I didn't get all the details about it, so I can't really say everything. But it just, from the outside, it seems like we said one thing, but we did another thing, which is it illegal. So it's just I think it's just frowned upon because if I'm the other coaches in the league, I'm probably asking now like, what is this? You know, it's just considered a suspension. But the times that I've been around Rope, I understood that he's a pretty fair guy. So in my eyes, I believe that he considers him missing 4 games a suspension, even if he was part of the team or wasn't. So there it is.
Yeah, I mean, you said it all. It's just an interesting thing. We won't harp on it, but we had to get it out. All right, so the players of the week have been announced on our social media channels earlier, but of course, we got to explain our choices. First up, we have Danny Kittner, wide receiver from the Helsinki Roosters. Just throw out his stats real quick. He had 7 receptions, 213 yards, 2 touchdowns, and ended with 240 all-purpose yards. Just going to throw this out there before I let you talk about him a little bit more. I mean, he balled. He was everything and everything more for the Roosters in this game. And it was really good to see him, have that. I mean, the first game he had was great, and then he just compounded it. And now he's creating that consistency, which reminds me I need to write him down on my list for all Finland too, because I forgot to do that. But yeah, it was Danny being Danny. I guess that's what I'm gonna start calling it, Danny being Danny. He killed that kid playing DB against him all day.
Yeah,
And you know
20.
what? Yeah, number 20, young kid. I don't know if Danny listens to the podcast yet, because he new to Finland. But if he listens to the podcast, hey man, keep up the swagger. We love it. Tapping on his head, saying he's too small. I love it. I mean, it's a little much because the dude's like 19, 20 years old. But still, you out there. You out there, you're gonna get the smoke. Danny ain't taking it easy on nobody. Appreciate him putting up these big numbers too. Just good to see him have another great week. And this time he probably felt like some people probably felt like he should have got MVP last week. So eventually we get to you, right? This week he gets Offensive Player of the Week.
He definitely balled. To say something quick about him, he definitely balled. I think offensive player could have probably went to a few people, but I think he had the biggest impact. I think the Roosters were in certain situations and he bailed them out, keeping drives alive, scoring touchdowns. He was a big play guy. I know we said we were trying to see why did they sign another receiver. We see now he's a lot more. I think you can count on him more. He's in the outside. Dume wasn't on the outside really. So it gives you more one-on-one when you could be out there. But he's showing up. He definitely made some great plays. I mean, they could keep him out of the end zone. Like literally, he probably should have had. He probably could have had 5 or 6 touchdowns if they really, if Dennis I can't say his name now, but if the quarterback for the Roosters could get him the
Sinadinos.
ball, Sinadinos, yeah. If he can give him the ball, then he definitely would probably put up some crazy numbers. But even to have 7 receptions for 213 yards is crazy.
Yeah.
But they just couldn't do anything with him. The Royals had they couldn't do anything. It was just kind of like, but it was a must-win game for the Roosters. But we'll talk about that later. But shout out to Dan and Kidner, though, for showing up for the Roosters.
Yeah. That sounds about right. Again, every time we do this, I feel like we just want to talk about the player, but then you want to start getting into the game because some things you want to say about him and the Roosters. But I'm gonna move on and go to defensive player of the week. Seth Zins, defensive lineman from Seinäjoki Crocodiles, big number 92. Stat-wise, he had 6 tackles, 3.5 tackles for loss, 1.5 sacks, and 1 PBU. Again, I think when you look at the Crocodile D line, you give defensive player of the week to any one of their defensive linemen every week. It is what it is. But this week, Seth just kind of stood apart a little bit. And I think really what it was those early sacks in the game to kind of stop the opponent's offense and give the Crocodiles that lead that they needed going into the half and kind of being able to pump the brakes and get ahead in this game because it came down to eventually the team that they're playing, Crusaders, is going to try to come back. And there's just nothing you could do. They have the talent for that. But if you can get ahead of them and stop them early, which is what the Crocodiles did. Early in this game, it seemed like, Crocodiles might run away with this. And that's because that defense early on was able to do fundamental things. And Seth was a big part of that up front and him just being able to get to the quarterback early and kind of set the tone for the defense. Just another great performance by him. He's had a lot of them this season. I think this is the one that really stood out for him. So it's great to have him be Defensive Player of the Week. What are your thoughts, Q?
No, he definitely was active in the game. Excuse me. He was definitely active in the game. Everywhere you looked around, you seen his big 92 walking around like a madman. But he's just another guy that adds on to that Seinäjoki defense. He's been a part of it for a few years now. So 6 tackles, 3.5 tackles for loss, and almost 2 sacks, man. That's a great game for a D lineman. It doesn't matter who you play for, but that's a great game. And they needed that in this game because UNC wasn't going away. So So even with him having the type of game he had, it definitely made a difference. I think it wore down on UNC. But Seth Jens, shout out to you, man. Keep balling. The whole defense as a whole keep balling. Their whole defense probably could have been defensive team of the week, but we'll talk about that later.
So let's talk about some of the key player performances from this week. First up, and I think I'm kind of go by the games. Like as the games, I always try to choose 1 or 2 players from each game that maybe stats don't pop off the page. And this is going to be the most interesting one of the year. I really want people to pay attention to this first one. Actually, Olin, cornerback from the Helsinki Roosters. Okay, now look at his stats. He has 6.5 tackles. I do not care about his stats in this game. What actually Olin did was he held Alpha Jallo to 7 receptions, 79 yards, and 0 touchdowns. He did what the Roosters have not been able to do pretty much all year, is play cornerback well enough to slow down the other team's receiver. Did he play great? Did he lock him down? Did he shut him down? No. But that's not what you have to do. All you have to do is not give up the big plays and look at how well your team does in this game. You force someone like Timothy Moravec to throw the ball other places when you're around him enough, close enough to him, or at least make it look like you have him covered. Something. And then when they try you don't give up the butt. And we've said on this podcast all year, like actually Olin was playing safety earlier in the year. And we've said, I know I've said it, that, he's a little older, not as fast as he used to be, but the guy still knows football. And all he did against Alpha was he played to his strengths, forced Alpha to play his way, and did just enough. He didn't stop Alpha. No reasonable football player would say giving up 79 yards and 7 receptions is locked down. But when you consider that Alpha Jallo is normally above 100 with 2 touchdowns pretty much every game, you did the impossible in this one. And you should get credit for it. And I think that this is one of those things where what we do on our podcast and when we're picking, player performances is we're not looking at stats. It's not all about stats. It's about what you do. I said it earlier, our offensive player of the week, he had 200 yards in the same game. but the cornerback that he was going up against almost every play is like 19, 20 years old tops. I don't know exactly how old that kid is, but he's on the U20 team. So he can't be older than 20. While you have Alpha going up against actually Olin, who is a man, a grown-up, and you see the difference. You see that actually is able to do things from that position that a lot of the cornerbacks in this league can't do. Because when we look around the league, a lot of these cornerbacks are very young. And I think the Roosters did a really good job putting Axley out there and saying, hey, we trust that you can get the job done. And just want to give kudos to Axley for having a really good game against a great player.
No, you said it all. You said it all. That's him. I mean, he's been around a long time. He's smart. More than anything, when you get older and you get a little slower, you use your senses and your skills and your brain a lot more. And I think that's what he did this game. He just put himself in a position to make plays and for Tim to look the other way a lot of times when they were running plays. So actually, shout out to him.
Yeah, and he was taking over the kicking duties for this game because Johannes wasn't there. But next person I got, I'm still on the Roosters. You know, I like Roosters players. I think they have a good team. I just think they don't put it all together. But next guy is Will Little, the defensive lineman from the Helsinki Roosters. Stat-wise, he had 5 tackles, half tackle for loss. I'm not going to say a lot about him, but I am going to say that number 0 was a presence, and you could see the impact he had on this game up the middle. The Royals weren't really able to run, per se, like they normally are, and that's because he just disrupted a lot of things. I don't think he necessarily made a lot of tackles in this game, but they couldn't run up the middle. That's for damn sure. Suosti didn't have his typical game, and even Timothy wasn't able to run as well as you want to. And when you play nose guard, pretty much, nose tackle, whatever position you want to call it, that Will plays, that's what you want to do. Stop the run. Force the team to pass and put them in positions where even when they pass, they're not doing that good. And I also want to throw this out there. I watch Will a lot when he's playing because I'm very nitpicky with the defensive lineman in this league. If he was like half a step faster, he would legitimately be like an Aaron Donald type. Because if you watch the film, the team runs outside plays to avoid him. And he still gets into the backfield, and he's just like it's a little bit too far for him to go left and make that tackle. He's like half a step, and there's no like discredit to him, but damn, he's forcing this team to go to that outside where he has help and his teammates can make tackles. But man, if he was just a little bit quicker, I would be putting him on my like all-time Finland defensive lineman list because he'd have more tackles for loss. That's pretty much.
I think he has it. I think he gets off the ball slow. That's what it is. It's a second slower than what it should be.
Yeah.
Like you say, watching the film because he has the mechanics, he has the hands, he can get off blocks.
Yeah.
I think it's just he's just behind a second.
Yeah.
And he'll probably watch it. Maybe he won't. But I look at it and I look at the D line. I'm like, okay, he would be dominating pretty much if he didn't go off of the snap count. He's going off of the snap count and not necessarily anticipating it.
Yeah,
if he was anticipating it, then he would do a lot more. But he's always active in the backfield, every game pretty much. So
every game he's there. And you can feel that presence. And again, that's what really the big thing for a lot of these defensive linemen. If these running backs and skill players are going to be fast. So if you could just put pressure on them, that's doing more than enough. Next guy I got on the list, big guy, Vincent McDonald, wide receiver for Opio Steelers. Stat-wise, he had a monster game, 9 receptions, 183 yards, 2 touchdowns. Okay, first of all, back to what I've been saying. They got to stop putting these kids out here against the men because the Butchers had another U20 guy playing cornerback, a tall guy, but tall don't equal strength, speed, athleticism, and all the other stuff. But had a tall guy guarding McDonald, traveling with him at that, which I thought that was crazy. Like, if you're traveling with somebody, that means you're supposed to be able to do something. They had nothing for him. You throw this man a hitch in this game, he gonna catch it, break the first tackle, second tackle, and he got a long stride, so he's gonna get a lot of yards. He ain't got that breakaway speed, but he can get you what you need. And then you throw it up in the air, and he just on top of everybody's head. I think he had like 2 Moss actions in this game where he basically just took it off the defender's head from the top and And then he had that one in the end zone where he got like 1 foot down. He's really good at getting that foot down in the end zone, even earlier in the year where they said that he didn't have a touchdown. Like, there's been a couple times where it's like, film-wise, because his footwork is so good. And in this game, it was just him having another game. And he's really standing out this season as if you get him the ball, he's going to produce. And that's all the Steelers have to do is get him the ball. Every time they've gotten him, targets in a game, he's had a monster game, and this week was no different. That's all I got on him.
Yeah, I know he's a big target. I think it should have been going to him more anyway, just to get that chemistry, that confidence up. Ambrose just, he spreads the ball around, but I think they should have really focused on him these last 4 games. He should have been a big focal point. I know the Scorpio went more of a running game and didn't want to put it on Ambrose, but I think he should have, red zone, even if they're not in the red zone, just anything, slants, anything. He's just a big target that can run. And I think you got to get the ball in his hands. And you can see what he do just by this last game. You can see that, like, they had no answer for him at all. So they just got to figure out a way to incorporate him more going down the stretch. But definitely, he definitely showed up. I'll say that.
Next guy I got, hey, this guy been on the list every week. Christian Nottingham, wide receiver, Porvoo Butchers. Y'all gonna remember his name. Shoot, I'm remembering it. Y'all gonna remember his name. He had 3 receptions, 98 yards, 1 touchdown. Okay, he didn't have 100 yards this time, but I mean, he only had 3 receptions, and he still almost had 100 off of 3. My guy is consistent. Every week, you're gonna get almost 100 and a tub from Nottingham, no matter what happens to the Butchers. And now they're on a 5-game winning streak. I would credit him with a lot of that. Is the fact that you can find number 7 anywhere in the field. He's going to make a play. He's going to catch the ball. He's going to get you yards after catch as well. All around, great receiver. Did it again this week. They got the win. Like, just throwing it out there. He's the guy. He's I'm putting this out. He's my wide receiver 1 of the Maple League this season. I'm just putting that out there. I'm not going back on it for the rest of the season. I'm stuck with him. Okay? I'm stuck with him. And we ain't going to argue. I'm moving on to the next guy.
Yeah.
We ain't going to argue. I'm not going to argue. We move on to the next guy. Seth Rowland, running back from UNC Crusaders. Throw out this guy's stats. He had 25 rushes, 128 yards, 3 touchdowns, 243 all-purpose yards. Seth Rowland.
MVP.
Hey.
If they were winning.
Man, he does everything. Like, just listen to the stat set. He had 128 yards rushing. He ended with 243 all-purpose. That's because he almost took that kickoff to the house.
Yeah.
He's playing the return game as well, and we've seen him even go and play defense late in games. I'm not sure if he came in to play defense in this game or not, but he probably did at the end of the game. Like, he normally does. Like, that's how good of a player he is. And in this game, it was no different. The offense runs through him. He's able to run the ball where, in my opinion, he's not really even getting blocks. I'm watching the linemen. The linemen are letting the defenders come upfield, and then they're turning their backs, and then he's just finding holes that really shouldn't be holes. But just his ability to see it in time and get there at a speed that no one can really calculate, because he's a lot faster than he looks, because he's a small running back, but he's as fast as, someone who's like 6'1", 6'2". And in this game, he did everything that they asked for him. Just, you're not going to beat the Crocodiles. That's just how it goes sometimes. But they tried. They gave it their all. And
they gave him they all. They gave him all. He should be next to, I'll say this right now, next to Powell being signed first next year, depending on the outcome. Seth should be the second signing for somebody should be talking to him now. Like, hey, we want you next year because we got a line, we got this, we got that, because this type of running back right here who can catch the ball out of the backfield, he has hands. He can also go get you a sack on defense.
That's crazy.
This is he is a one man show. But just imagine what he could do if he had all the other parts to go with it. Like he's fighting for every yard that he gets now, and he's still coming away with 200 or some yards a game. So just imagine if he actually had that type of line to be behind. Like it'll be crazy. But yeah, Seth, he balling every week, literally every week he's on here.
And you said it. He really might be the
I
up
was
for
signing
like the
first.
Sisu. I'm thinking like
He
for the
should be.
Sisu award, like best player this year, he really might be that guy because as much as we like Powell, when you had it's one of those like LeBron, situations. You start talking about what he has around him, and then you look at someone like Seth Rollins, where it's like, yeah, there's a couple
Yeah,
bright spots here and there, but take him off
I think
out the game, and they're not doing nothing.
UNC. If UNC goes to the playoffs and he keep playing like this, there's no reason why he shouldn't be the MVP in
Yeah.
my eyes.
Yeah. And for me, it's one of those things where I feel like he would be my MVP, not my offensive player. But
Yeah,
I feel
yeah,
like he
yeah.
does with him playing, special teams as well, and him being so important to the actual team aspect of it, that he's overall like one of the best players. He kind of embodies what we think of when we think about the Sisu Award that we've had here at AFF is, that outstanding player. It's outstanding when you could do more than what's expected of you, more than just your position type of stuff. But moving on, next guy I got Zach Whitehead, quarterback, Seinäjoki Crocodiles. Is what week 7? Was it week 7, week 8? In week 8, Zach Whitehead finally had one of those games that make you think, damn, this could be a really good quarterback. I mean, it took till week 8. Let's just keep it like it is. Before now, he's just kind of been, on the team, in our
Facilitate.
opinion. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
been facilitating. But in this game, 20 for 26, 242 yards, 3 touchdowns. And stat-wise, it's great. I think that's like 77, almost 80% completion. But he wasn't just making easy throws. He was making throws on the run. He was putting balls in places where receivers had to go get it because he put it where the defenders couldn't get it. He had a great game, and he played like a great quarterback, but we just haven't seen that before. But I do want to give him credit that this week he looked like a QB1 out there, and he went and did what his team needed him to do in this game. Shout out to their offensive coordinator for, believing in him to do that in those situations, but also shout out to those receivers for being on the same page with him, because a lot of what they did in this game are plays where normally we see receivers drop balls or not make the plays or not get to the spots that the quarterback is putting the ball at. But has a great rapport with his receivers, and they came through for him this week. And, those stats kind of were evidence of it. Probably one of the best games he's had all season. Moving on to the next guy I got, Raul Khalifa, linebacker, Wasa Royals. Had 6 tackles, 1 PBU, and 1 interception for 82-yard touchdown. The young Khalifa, baby Khalifa is what we should call him. Baby Khalifa, because he's the youngest of the 3 brothers. And there might be another brother. I'm not sure. There's just a lot of Khalifas out there.
It's a lot of them, right? It's D lineman.
Yeah, D
He's
lineman's the
huge.
oldest, and then you got Rufa at corner, and then he playing linebacker. You have a Khalifa at every level on the Royals defense. If you're doing great, you have one at every level. You have a D line, a linebacker, and a cornerback. But Raul had a great game. He's been making tackles all year. Just in this game, him having that interception at the end of that first Wolverines drive and then taking it back 82 yards, it deflated the other team. They were on a long drive, and he got the interception, took it all the way back, and said, hey, all that don't count for nothing. This is kind of him getting to this point as this season has been going on, this first year in the Maple League. He's becoming a star. And that was kind of – this game was one of those, hey, I'm here. Y'all going to have to remember number 56, which I hate that number. I think you should go back to number 23.
Hey, look, when he get bigger, it's gonna make a difference. When he get bigger, it's gonna look better. I promise you.
He gotta fill out the jersey.
Yeah, he just gotta fill out because he's gonna. I mean, like you say, looking at him, looking at his aesthetics, and looking at his skill, he's gonna be a really really good linebacker.
Mm-hmm.
If he stays playing with the Maple League and around that crew, he's going to be a really good linebacker. You can see that he doesn't fear anything.
Yeah.
He's just small. He's just
Yeah.
small. So
Well, he's
he's
like
fighting that battle.
17. He's 16
Yeah,
or 17 years old. So
yeah. So for
kind
the
of
fact
close to
that
being
him to
done.
even be in the box against some of these linemen that he's going against, but seeing that he doesn't shy away from stuff. You can see the young part of him, the immature part of him as far as football play, but he's not scared of anything, and he'll stick his head in there. And that 82-yard, man, that's what you want right there. Like anything to help you get a win, you got to do. Um, but shout out to the Royals. Shout out to all the Khalifas, man. They all good, but him definitely showed up this game.
So family of it. All right, last guy. Then we get out of here with these performances. Shea Netter, linebacker, Helsinki Wolverines. Yeah, 8.5 tackles, 2.5 tackles for loss. I did not watch him in the second half of this game. I didn't watch the second half of the game, but I don't care. Shea came out there, played linebacker, out there making tackles. Respect. That's all I want to say. Respect. He came out there and made tackles.
Yeah, that's all you needed. That's all they needed anyway. Somebody to have some heart, man. To have some heart. Shea Netter, even though he's played, quarterback, but he's like an aggressive quarterback.
Yeah.
Even then, like
It was
he's
tough.
just
Yeah.
aggressive. He's an aggressive guy. Like so, it's cool to see him to get out there. I know he's been talking about playing anyway, so it's cool to see him out there, even if it's on the defense side of the ball. He's playing football and he giving that team some spark. And he should have actually had about 12, 13 tackles. Really, he missed a few. But
Had to get the rush
shout out to
off.
Shea Netter. Yeah, shout out to Shea Netter for coming off the sideline and showing up for the Wolverines.
If you're listening to my voice, you're now part of the AFF community. But don't be shy about supporting us. Head over to our website and order some AFF swag. Get a t-shirt for this beautiful summer weather, or a comfy hoodie you can rock all year long. And if you really want the drip, scoop up one of our limited edition snapback caps. Everything you need to represent the AFF community can be found on our website at AmericanFootballInFinland.com/merch.
All right, so we all know the results of last weekend's game, but let's explain which teams won and which teams lost. First game up. This is going to be good this week because I feel like it could go either way. First game, Wasa Royals versus the Roosters. Did the Roosters win this thing or did the Royals lose that thing?
I think the Roosters won this game.
All right.
I think the Roosters won this game. I think they got a little better with Kidner. I think they got a little better. I don't defensively they actually played better. But I also see some adjustments that the Roosters made that the Royals didn't make. I think they left it to Timothy and trying to still do the zone read and try to get, his plays out there. But I think the Roosters offensively made the plays they need to make to win the game, even though it was a close one. I think the Roosters still had that edge when it came down to making the plays they needed to make. Kidner showed up. It was times where I felt like the Roosters stalled out, and then he would make a play or a deep catch or a
Keep them
pass where it's
alive.
just like, it's like he kept them alive. And that's what you want. It was a must-win game for the Roosters. Even though I don't know if they'll say it, but everybody knows it was a must-win game. They needed this game. They had a lot of their guys that's been injured come back. They're not 100%. In order to get to where you want to go as a team, you need guys like that on your team that's going to keep the spirits up, that's going to keep making plays and get the fans involved. He's a hyper guy. And I think defensively, they held it down for the most part.
Yeah.
Not to have Alpha be a part of trying to beat Alpha necessarily. They left it to, all right, everybody else is going to have to beat us. And they couldn't pull it off, but the Roosters definitely won this game. It's nice to see them get this nice quality win. Honestly, it's nice to see them get it, even though it was close. It was a battle. I think they still have work to do, but they needed this in order to have a chance. And I think the Roosters just did what they needed to do to win the game. And that's all you got to really do in these situations. But we got a lot of football left, but they definitely won this game. I'll give them that. They definitely won this game.
I would agree. I think the Roosters won. I'm glad that me and you both picked them to win this game. Pick them is tough because you never really know if the team is going to play the way that you expect when you make these picks. And this is one of those games where we knew the Royals were playing on short rest. Didn't have to travel. No, they were home team in this game. Never mind. That's their second game. Never mind. But they just had a game like 4 days previously. So despite even if you have to travel or not, like physically, they're going to be exhausted. Yeah. And in this game, the Roosters played like what we expected them to play. Their offense was on point. Like you said, Kidner kept making big play after big play to keep them in it. Defensively, they made the small adjustments. It don't sound like a lot, but just putting Axley Olin on Alpha was all that defense needed because their secondary is their hugest, like that's the biggest problem they have is that they can't stop good receivers. And they didn't really stop Alpha. They just slowed them down. And that's all they needed because they were able to stop the run. Like I said earlier in this podcast, Will Little did his thing up the middle, and their defense, got to the ball. The Royals have not turned into what we thought they would be at the midsummer point. We thought they were trending upwards. We thought they were going to get better with a number 2 receiver. They brought in an Italian guy. No offense to Escobar. Nope. I don't know if he related to Pablo or not, but
wasn't the answer.
He wasn't the answer. It is what it is. In this game, just looking again, I feel like I've said this like the last 2 or 3 times we talk about the Royals. A lot of incomplete passes, either drops or kind of bad throws by the quarterback. Moravik has 16 completions. 7 of them went to Alpha. That's almost half, which means like if you're not throwing to him, you're not getting anything. And same thing. He didn't get anything. He had 2 interceptions as well. So that's half your throws right there. I don't know what else they're going to do. They can't run the ball consistently because their offensive line is not very good. They have one good offensive lineman, the right tackle, Seppo. Other than that, the rest of those offensive linemen, all they do is get beat all game, which means Suosti is going to have up and down games depending on who they're playing. And when they're playing against the Roosters, you're playing against a good defense. That's not going to work. You have to get the ball to other people outside of Alpha. They have not fixed that. As long as they don't fix that, they're in trouble. Defensively, they gave up over 500 yards. 500 yards to the Roosters. And that's never going to change. Half of their defense is U20 players. They're going to get beat. But this is Maple League. We know this. You're going to give up yards. You're going to give up points. But you got to be able to score points too. All it is pressure. If you're scoring and the other team is scoring, that goes into their mind as they're scoring. It's like, okay, we have to score. That kind of puts a pressure on the other offense. But if you're not scoring and they're scoring, they can run, they can pass. Ville Hamalainen had almost another 100, 200-yard game. I think he had almost 100 yards rushing. I don't know the exact stats, but he had a great rushing game. They were able to run and pass the ball. The Royals defense had nothing for them, and their offense didn't complement them. The offense didn't, force the Roosters to be like, oh, we got to score this time, or they might score. It's like, okay, we can score, but if we don't score, we can run, use a little clock. They're not going to stop us anyways. Next thing you know, 500 yards offense for the Roosters. And again, credit to Roosters. Roosters won the game, but the Royals just aren't the team that we thought they were, and they're not playing like it. And that won't even go into what I'm going to talk about their second game. So we'll move on. Second game, the actual first week 8 game would be the Steelers versus the Butchers, and it was a good one. I feel like it was all around. It was a good game to watch. 2 teams going at it. But ultimately, the Butchers are on a 5-game win streak.
Uh-oh.
Looking good. What did you see in this one? Who won or lost it, actually? Yeah.
I believe the Butchers won this game simply because they won it. They, at the end of the game, had more points than the other team. I'm not going to throw hypothetical situations in it to say, what if Lee Anthony was there or that type of thing. But I do know what happened when he wasn't there. So I can just imagine what's going to happen when he returns. But let's talk about this game now. The Butchers won the game. Offensively, they've done what they've been doing the past few weeks, and that's Brandon Gwinner getting the ball to all of his receivers, Natanen getting the ball to Mikko Seppänen, throwing Mickey in the mix. Mickey is out there slicing and dicing at the running back position. So it's keeping a lot of teams on edge because of that offense, because they have a running back, because they have a running quarterback. They also have a quarterback can throw the ball mid-range, deep ball not so good, not so much. But Brandon Gwinner just can score points. And anytime that you play against a team like Corporal, or if you play against any team in the league, and you can score 30 points, you're probably going to be in a good position to win games. I think the Butchers just have an edge right now. I think they got the confidence that they need to win these games and to be able to come into these games. I think they're on a mission. So do I still think they're I know you didn't ask this, but do I think they're the best team? No, I don't. But they are exciting.
What about the second best team?
Yeah, I'll give them that. I'll give them that right now. I think the Butchers are up there, the second best team, because they're showing up. Now, like I said, now if Lee Anthony's playing with the Scorpio Steelers, then no, they're not the second best team. But because they play totally different when he's playing. But I'm not taking away from what the Butchers are doing. The defense is playing great. Defense is playing great. I mean, for the most part, they're holding it down. They do have some lapses at certain positions where it allows other teams to stay in the game, and like what we just seen with the receivers for Scorpio, manhandling their DBs and doing what they want to do. And that right there is what I'm worried about going down the stretch, because it's all cool, fun when you're winning games during the season, and then you get to a time where that fault that you've been camouflaging the whole season will be put at the forefront. And I'm afraid that the Butchers will have to see that, but just see it at the worst times. Right now, it's great. Shout out to Lassie. Let me tell you, Lassie, he didn't tag me, but he told me to pick the Butchers for points. And I'm cool with that. Lassie, me and him played together at the 69ers for a long time, so it's great to see him having the success over there with the Butchers. But just remember, the season is not over yet. So if you're in the season, and this is not to him, but I'm just saying the Butchers as a whole, they're young, they're exciting, but you still have to fix things. And I know sometimes when you win games, you tend to look at what you could have done better, but you still don't really take time to fix the things that, like, hey, this right here is going to get us in trouble. You know what I mean? Like, this right here can really get us in trouble. It's just that we're scoring so many more points. It doesn't really seem that bad because you're winning. And I think the Butchers in this game, another close one. I mean, it wasn't a perfect game because it wouldn't have been that close. So that lets you know that there's still things that keep them from being the dominating team. Yeah, you can beat the Wolverines, and you can beat certain teams 40, 50-0 because they're just not good. Scorpio, it's not the Wolverines. You know what I mean? And they fight. And these are games that the Butchers obviously need to put themselves in position. But at the end of the day, it's not going to make a difference if it doesn't carry on into the playoffs. So shout out to Brandon Gwinner, shout out to Lassie over there on the defense. A lot of my old 69er guys are over there helping, coaching. So I'm happy that they're getting the success. Defensively, I can see it. I can see that what they have and what they could have. But also, it's still early. Honestly, even though we're in week 7, 8, whatever, it's still early, though. Like, we still got a lot of football to play. So, but anyway, shout out to Brandon Gwinner and Nico Sepp and all those guys at the Butchers. They won the game.
See, you're better than me because they don't have to just call me a hater. Y'all just have to call me a hater. I'm gonna go opposite, so it don't sound nearly as bad about the Butchers because they won this game, like hands down. Like, it was a game where you had to score enough points to win, and they scored enough points to win. But I'm just gonna say a couple of things here, and then I'm gonna move on. Try not to hold on to it, but you tell me, in what world is a defense giving up 475 yards? Okay, 475 yards of offense given up to the Steelers. Ambrose had another 400-yard passing game. Like, come on. Like, come on.
I was trying to avoid that.
Yeah,
I was trying to avoid talking about.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw it out there. Let's not act like this team is unbeatable. I mean, they haven't been beaten in almost a month and a half, so they feel that way, and that's cool. But come on, 475 yards, and to backtrack on that, yeah, they gave up almost 500 in this game, but a lot of that had to do with, like you said, their defense really only has one weakness. That's when those cornerbacks are U20 guys. In the games where they brought in, Miko Sepinen or Robert Carlson to play cornerback, they've done fine. Even when they put in like Royko at nickelback, like they've done fine when they put in, those older savvy guys who know how to play. But in this game, they had in two young guys playing against Hannes Harju and Vincent McDonald. They basically said, we don't respect the Steelers receivers. They're not that good. And they found out. And if anybody knows, the more you fuck around, the more you find out. And that's all those cornerbacks did, is they found out. You can't just put anybody out there against these guys and receivers because they're legitimate. Hannes Harju is one of the best finished receivers in the league, in the country. It is what it is. You can't just put anybody out there and hope that it works out. That's what the Butchers defense did. They're like, well, we've been able to hide this against certain teams. We'll do it against the Steelers. Steelers said, nah, we're going to throw it to these guys and make y'all do something. And that's just how it went down. But they were fortunate because their offense, like you said, I think now I'm talking good about the Butchers. That's all the bad I have. Like, that's literally it is. You put young kids at cornerback, and this is what happens. The other teams can run it up on you with good receivers. But this was probably one of the best and ideal situations for their offense. Just looking at how the offense like spread the ball around. Your quarterback completed 55% of his passes, 250 yards, 3 tubs. That's a hell of a stat line for a quarterback. Your running back has 60 yards rushing and 2 tubs. Hell of a stat line. Then you look at your 3 receivers. Erla, 97 yards and a tub. Nottonen, 98 yards and a tub. Sepinen, only 50 yards, still got a tub, and his one big catch basically saved the drive when I really don't think Brandon Gordon was throwing it to him. I think he was throwing it to Mickey J, and he overthrew him. And Sepinen's like, hey, I got you, bro. I got you. And Sepinen went up and got it. And I want to talk about that play because it was I hope, I don't know, if someone makes like a highlight, Miko Sepinen, he makes highlights, he might make it. That play, it epitomizes what Miko Sepinen is to this team. Like we talk about him as being like that veteran presence and that big playmaker. That's just what he does. Like he makes those big plays. I wholeheartedly believe that was an overthrow, but he was running and he was like, well, if ain't nobody else going to get it, I'm going to go get it for you. And he makes the team better by doing things that everyone else just can't do. And I know his stats are kind of up and down. Like some games he has a lot of touchdowns, some games he has a lot of yards, some games neither or. But it really doesn't matter because when he makes plays, he makes plays. Like he's Cooper Kupp type. Like he don't make those unnecessary like boosting up stat plays. All the plays that he makes are important and they mean something to the game. And again, that's what he did in this game. He only had 2 catches. He had 2 catches and a touchdown. I mean, that's pretty good stats. 50% of your balls you score on, and you're still putting up stats. So I think the Butchers did really good offensively. Like we've been saying, they probably, can we say this? If they're not the best team, do they have the best offense in the Maple League? Huh? What are you thinking? You don't want to give them nothing.
I'll give them that.
Okay.
I'll give them that. They got that's why I said they can score points. They're exciting.
Yeah.
I mean, you're giving up 500 points to the other team. Like you can't like you shouldn't be tagging anybody on Instagram. Like they be like I don't know, the Butchers is like the most, I'm not gonna say talkative, besides Seinäjoki, they chime in. Like I like talking, I like, a little talking or whatever. But like when we do our picks and like we see people saying certain things on the post, and I'm looking like, do y'all watch the games? Or do y'all just like look at the outcomes of wins and losses and go off of that? Because if you're giving up 500 yards, like 500 yards without me, Anthony Reasnover.
Yeah.
Like great win, guys, but we got to fix this. Like, that's what I'm doing. Like, guys, there's no way that I'm happy about this win. Like, offensively, yeah, we're scoring points, but we still only won by 3 points, so we gave up 500 yards. Like, there's nothing to be tagging anybody about. Nothing at all.
I think it's one of those things, though. Is a lot of people going off the consumption. A win is a win. A win is a win.
and it sounds crazy, but sometimes it's not. Like sometimes it's like you only won because you know what I mean. Like it's a win, it's a win, but like come on, bro. Like if I'm the next team that y'all play, and I'm like, look what they did on them. Like we should be able to take advantage of this too, but it is what it is. They won. Oh well.
I want to move off of them because the Butchers are the Butchers. They're on a 5-game win streak. honestly, if they weren't playing the Crocodiles next, I was gonna say on the podcast, I'm not gonna pick against them. But life is life. You're not gonna win the next game. There's nothing I can do about it. And I actually was hoping that they would play someone easy so I could pick them. But moving to
I
who they
want to pick them.
play, huh?
I want to pick them. I want to be able to pick them.
I just 475 yards to the Steelers. They're not the Crocodiles. But again, let's talk about the Steelers. I'm looking at what I got on my notes here. Steelers gave up 20 points off of turnovers. So let's look at those turnovers. In the third quarter, I don't know how I got this on my notes, but I think this was pivotal of the game. In the third quarter, the Steelers had 2 straight turnovers, and they went from winning 27-24. They were up 27-24 and were receiving a punt, which means you're up 3 and you're probably going to score again, right? Because you just scored, you're in the rhythm. Noah Choate touches the punt even though he's not supposed to. So Butchers get the ball on the 1 yard line, they score. Then when the Steelers actually get the ball, Ambro throws an interception in the middle of the field. Zach Wright, give me that. Give me all that. He runs for I don't know how many yards after the catch, so they get the ball in the red zone. Both of these times, guess who's scoring a touchdown? Mickey J. I think it was Mickey J both times. He red zone scooping up. Hey, fantasy-wise, if you playing that fantasy pick your 6 thing, hey, Mickey J was a good pick this week, getting them red zone touches. Don't need no yards. He's getting touchdowns. But from right there, it went from 27-24, being up by 3, to 27-37, being down by 10. That's how fast this game flipped for them. Now, again, you're down by 10 and you lost the game by 3. And you gave up 20 points off of turnovers. And the Steelers only scored 1. They had 1 score off of turnovers for themselves, which I don't even know how that happened, but that's technically what it had. Ambro had 3 picks. 3. First pick, Hunter's Hardy wide open. He underthrows it. It becomes an interception. Second pick, they throw a screen to McDonald where the receiver in front of him, number 21, I think it was Noah Choate again, can't block the DB. So the DB is in the ball. The ball hits off of McDonald's hand, goes up in the air. Nico Royko gets the pick. Third pick, I already talked about it. Throw it in the middle of the field. Zach Wright taking that. So there you go. Your quarterback giving the other team the ball, and you're turning over the ball doing dumb things like touching the ball on a punt return. Like the Steelers, I'm saying that the Butchers won the game, but the Steelers had the opportunity to win this game. There was a time in this game where they could have won, and them being who they are now, not who they used to be, is why they lost. Their offense really had no problem moving the ball. You had McDonald had 183 yards, 2 touchdowns. Haryu, 150 yards, 2 touchdowns. Choate had 60 yards. Haryu was open all game. McDonald was putting a highlight tape on number 2 from the Butchers all game. Yet you lose because your quarterback is putting the ball in places he shouldn't, and then you got players making just boneheaded mistakes at bad times of the game. Both defenses played bad. On both of these teams, both defenses played bad, but the Steelers' offense actually had a chance to win this game and then gave it away on dumb turnovers. Again, we say this every week, win the turnover battle. Steelers lost turnover battle. They lost the game, lost by 3. There was a 14-point swing. Yeah.
That's been a problem for them, though. Like, turnovers all season been a problem.
But again, like you said earlier, if you go hypothetically, those turnovers are what, him, the Anthony Reasnover, would limit. And that would kind of change things for them. But also, I don't think they would have been able to – I don't think they would have passed as much.
Yeah.
And I don't know how that would have affected it, but it's just one of those things. This team in this game, they weren't the better team. They could have won the game, but it was like you said, the Butchers keep showing up, being a good offensive-driven team, while someone like the Steelers – they can put up yards, but I don't necessarily say they can put up points, if that makes any sense. There's a difference between putting up yards and putting up points. They put up 475 yards, and, even scoring 30-something points is great, but all those turnovers. that just means you could have put up 600 yards and
Mm-hmm.
45 points. So you're not getting all your points. While the Butchers, on the other hand, they're getting all their points. Give them the ball in the red zone, they're getting points. Give them the ball when they're not supposed to have it, they're getting points. And the Steelers just weren't able to do that in this game. So that's all I'm going to say about it. I guess we can move on. So the next game we got is the Crocodiles versus the Crusaders. It was close, another close one. What's your thoughts on win or loss? Did the Crocs win it or did the Crusaders lose it? I mean, it was right there.
It was a close one. It was a close one, but I'm not going to do the Crocs like that.
Yeah.
I think the Crocs won the game fair and square. I do think the Crusaders had a chance to win the game, and I'm gonna go straight to this play. I'm not gonna harp on this game too much because Crusaders are playing, their hearts out. They just don't have the depth, and against a team like the Crocodiles, you're gonna need depth. Like your best players playing offense and defense, man, that's a lot. Like it really is a lot, and it takes away from you and it helps you at times too. But I think in this game is where we really seen it. Like they were gassed, like they just needed a play. There's one play in the game that I'll talk about, and I think it was one of the last drives that the Crocs had, and it was first down, and they ran either a counter or a sweep. The linebacker for the UNC Crusaders read the play, is in the backfield for to get a 5-yard loss on Powell. He was so tired, though, that when he comes up to make the play, Powell gives him the stiff arm. Now Powell goes on to run for like another, I want to say 7-8 yards. Now, the reason I say that play was important is because if he makes this play, now Seinäjoki has to throw the ball, or either they have to commit to saying, hey, we're not going to try to get the first down. We're just going to run our plays and punt. Mm-hmm. But being that the time where the time was at the time, like if he would have made that play, now they're 2nd and 15. So what do you run now? You're gonna run again, or you're gonna throw the ball? Like what are you gonna do? It would have put them in a better situation to get the ball back. They couldn't get the ball back after he gave them that stiff arm. And a lot of people don't look at plays like that, but I do because I know like what position it could put you in.
Yeah, it's a catalyst play.
Yeah, and if it's first down and he gets 8 yards and you're trying to get the ball back, that's not how you start that off. And it was just like, and I know he's seen it because I see him on film. He was just so kind of mad at himself for missing the play. But what it is Powell isn't a normal running back that you can run up to and grab onto.
No, you can't get.
This is why I say people have to good football players watch film. I mean, if you see me break down film, you'll notice I look at a lot of different things. I'm not just looking at plays. I'm looking at what running backs do when you approach them. Is he a stiff arm guy? Is he a shoulder guy? Will he let me get up on his body? Somebody like Powell, he's going to put that stiff arm on you. So you got to be ready to knock it down and make the tackle. He didn't in this instance, and he got 7-8 yards, and it just continued to run the clock, and then the game just eventually ended. But that was a hard fought game. Like UNC Crusaders, they gave them everything they had.
Can I give y'all some
killing them.
Free game here real quick, just because of what you're saying? Like, if anybody is listening that's ever played football and is in the Maple League, especially, let's just say it right here. You really just can't tackle a good running back from the waist up.
Yeah.
Just don't care how big of a linebacker or even defensive lineman you are. You can't tackle a good running back from the waist up. You got to get the thighs, the calf muscle, an ankle, a shoelace, and hold on for dear life. But you're not going to tackle a good running back from the waist up. And Powell is a great running back. Even the guy that he's going against, Seth Rowland, great running back. You're not tackling any of them from the waist up. That's all I'm saying. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I had to put that out.
No, you're right. You're right. But it's just going on what I was saying. It's just, plays like that give you a chance in the end. And it's just the depth of the Crusaders is hurting them right now. They're still in a good position, playoff-wise and all that. So maybe they can somehow, steal them a win coming up soon. So we'll see. But definitely, I'm going to give it to Seinäjoki. They won the game.
Yeah, I agree. And all I'm going to say about the game is if anybody saw my picks and know that I picked UNC, know that we record on Sundays. So we made this pick before they lost 2 of their defensive imports and one of their lead receiver imports in Curtis Slater. Okay. I apologize. Like, believe me, Crocodiles fans, I would not have picked UNC if I would have known Slater.
We knew Slater.
Would have picked UNC. Like, it is what it is. And even last week, I said it in the podcast. If there's any team that could beat the Crocs, this is the only team because they have so much talent, and they still almost did it. Okay, let's not get crazy out here, Crocs. I think someone tagged me, called me like I'd like to pick against the Crocs or something, and it just made me think like I was 4 points from being right. Like, let's not act like I was way off. Like, like y'all
that's my thing. Like, why tag us if you won by 3 points, bro? Like, it's not like y'all like that could have went anyway. That game could have went anyway. Let me see if y'all blowing them out or something. But if you're not blowing nobody out, don't tag me. Yeah. Don't tag me anything.
What I did like though is I think that the Crocodiles, there was never a point in this game where I felt like the Crocodiles were going to lose. Even though they only won by 3 at half, they were up 21-7. I never felt like they really were going to lose because their offense just kept going every time. And I was like, the Crusaders offense at some point is not going to be able to. And that's what it came down to at the end. Like, there was situations where you just like, when you have to, like nut up, the Crusaders are going to be tired as shit in the fourth quarter, which they were. And they're just hanging on, and they're just looking and hoping for a big play. And what they really needed was they need the Crocs to give them something. And the Crocs don't do that. Shout out to Seinäjoki. Crocs don't do that. They don't just give you something. Looking at notes, I think Crocodiles defense played good. Their offense played good. I know they gave up a lot of probably yards and points to the Crusaders, but it's one of those things where, I mean, the Crusaders are one of those teams. Like, they just make big plays when they need it, and that eats you up sometimes, and they get points. But again, in a 4-quarter thing, the Crocodiles did the best you could do against them. I think offensively, they might have got too conservative towards the end, and that might have led to UNC being able to come back. But they're okay with that because, again, it never looked like they were going to lose in this game. And similar to what I said about the Butchers game, I think their offense played how they want the offense to play. Your quarterback is almost 80%, 240 yards, 3 touchdowns. Powell gets 170 yards rushing, adds another 40 reception yards, so he's over 200 all-purpose, 2 touchdowns. And then Sarkala, 2 touchdowns, 90 yards, and even your number 2 receiver, Allenquist, 68 yards and a touchdown. Like, the ball was spread. They were able to do what they wanted to do offensively, and it kept everybody fresh. In the fourth quarter, I think it was the fourth quarter when Powell had that really long run. That doesn't happen. You're forcing the ball to him all game. But he was kept fresh because they were able to put the ball in other people's hands, which is what they've always tried to do. And there's such a balanced attack. I want to say they had 240 yards passing and then close to another 200 yards rushing. Very balanced attack. That's all you can expect from a really good team, which, I mean, probably the best team in the Maple League, which is what they are. Last thing I want to say about this game was I was a little bit disappointed in watching Philip Zakic bend the quarterback's leg twice from UNC. There was one time when Yadel got hurt, and then another time where you could see that he should have been hurt, but he's a really strong guy. Both times you could watch it. It's not hard to see. Number 99 is tackling him, and once they get down, he twists the leg. It's that old 1990s, 1980s football style that I don't care for it. And I'm just putting this out there that I saw it. I know this is the NFL, so they're not gonna fine him or something, but that's something that I would eject the player for. I would try to get him ejected for a game because that is just endangering player safety for no reason. These weren't in the midst of a play happening, turning. The player was down on the ground, and then you could see him violently twist someone's leg. And he was already in a compromised position when this dude twisted his leg. If Yadel wasn't as strong as he is, he easily could have had his ankle or leg broken in this game because Philip Zakic felt the need to go that extra mile and put malice in a game where we're supposed to have sportsmanship. I just wanted to put that as the last thing out there on that. last game, Wolverines versus Royals. It was a blowout. We know the win was the Royals won and Wolverines lost. That was easy. Did you see anything in this game worth talking about?
Not a thing. Not a thing. The Royals, I mean, we expected the Royals to win one or two of these games in the gauntlet. So that was a game that obviously everybody knew they was going to win. They put up a lot of points against the Wolverines. Nothing really to talk about. I mean, Wolverines just withstanding right now, and they just hope that they try to get better and try to just do what they can. But as far as the Royals, I mean, it's a win for them. So hey, they still got to go through this gauntlet the next week. So
yeah,
we'll see.
And with the Royals, they have 3 wins, and 2 of them are against the Wolverines. Just throw that out there, just in case people don't understand what's happening in the league. This was their 3rd win of the season, and they've beaten this team twice. So yeah, in this game, everybody was open for the Royals. That's what I have on here. Something that was weird: Alpha only had 20 yards receiving. Now, again, I only watched the first half, and the Royals were up 20-0. And I guess he wasn't targeted that much in that first half, but I do know Darius Lewis showed up and was guarding him. I don't know if that had anything to do in the second half because they pretty much knew they were going to win this game. But just want to put it out there that Alpha had 2 games in 4 days and only had 79 yards receiving. I mean, he had 79 plus 20. So he had 99 total yards in 2 games this week. So
that's 2 more to go.
Yeah, that's interesting. Last thing is the Wolverines' first drive, again, sums up the season that they're having. They went for 17 plays, took 9 minutes off the clock, and the drive, they kept converting on 3rd and 4th downs, like 3rd and short, 4th and long. There was one time it was like 4th and 9, and they threw like an out route to Kevin Adams and got the first down. I'm like, oh my gosh, they really want to get this ball to the end zone. And then it ended with an 82-yard interception to the house. Like nothing had happened. They spent 9 minutes to get nothing and didn't score for the rest of the game. That's the Wolverine season. They can try as hard as they want to, but ultimately they get nothing. Yeah, it's just how it is for them this year. But that's that. That's it for this episode of American Football in Finland. Hope it was worth the listen. Any last words before we get out of here, Q?
Hey, here we are going into the last gauntlet of games like we've been saying for the last week. But I'm just excited to see what's going to happen now. It's some crucial weeks, crucial games, and we'll see.
Yeah, a few more weeks left. 14 total weeks, I think. So if you enjoy the show, follow us wherever you listen to your podcasts. We're also on YouTube. Don't forget to rate us 5 stars as well. Anything less tells us you are a hater. You can follow us on the gram and Facebook at American Football in Finland. Until next time, never forget
TIF.
We gone.
There we go.
American Football in Finland.